Thanks to everyone joining. We are going to get started here just in about 2 minutes. We are going to let people keep rolling in and get started now, just in about 1 minute. Thanks for joining us. Okay, I'm going to kick us off and slow roll the introduction a little bit. Hello and welcome to Introducing Email 2.0, Making Email Cool Again, presented by Netcore Cloud and Forrester Research. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Nicholas Einstein, and I am joined today by Shar VanBoskirk and Rajesh Jain, who really need no introductions at all, but it is my sincere pleasure to introduce them anyway. Shar, if you could give us slide number 2. Shar helps CMOs lead customer-obsessed strategies at their firms while also transforming their marketing functions to deliver brand experiences that are relevant to empowered customers. Her specific research focuses on marketing strategy, budget, staffing, organization, and creating an operating model for customer obsession. She just published her most recent wave on email marketing service providers last month, a piece of research that she's been publishing since 2005. Shar, thank you for joining us today.
Nick, thank you for having me. Good to hear everyone's voice. Looking forward to the discussion.
Excellent. And Rajesh Jain is a technology entrepreneur and a pioneer in Asia's .com revolution. He created India's first internet portals in the late 1990s, one of which was acquired in 1999 and one of Asia's largest internet deals. Rajesh founded Netcore in 98, which is today's India's largest marketing automation company, and is now pioneering the shift to email 2.0 across the globe. Rajesh, welcome.
Thank you very much, Nick. Great to be here.
This is going to be a tremendous session, but before I hand it off to Shar to kick us off, a quick operational note or two. One, we're going to try to save time for questions, but if we don't get to your questions live, we'll definitely follow up via email. 2, if you're active on the social channels and wish to share any insights from this webinar using the hashtag for the love of emails, please do so, because we're going to be rewarding someone with a $100 Amazon gift card. And I'm going to be launching a few quick polls as Shar and Rajesh are rolling through the content. We're not going to stop the flow. We'll just open them quickly. I'll ask that you take them pretty quickly, and I'll quickly present the results to them. With that, Shar, take it away.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you so much to Netcore for inviting me to join them today in this conversation. And thank you to all of you for coming along. I really just want to set the stage with some ideas and some research that we're finding. And then Rajesh is going to share some how-tos, some client stories, and a good discussion of the way that you can put some of these best practices together. So the theme here as we talk together is that we want to encourage you to ask more from your email programs. And my thesis, my theory here is that no matter where you are joining us from today across the globe, there's no denying that it has been a very unusual set of circumstances for all of us over the course of the last several years. And it's a little bit uncertain what's coming next. And so my thesis here is that asking more from email can prepare you for whatever comes next, which is very likely to be something very different from what you're in the middle of today. So let me give you just some Forrester research around the current state of email and some of the transformative elements that we're seeing that will cue up how you can think differently and ask more from the email medium. So thought number one here is that email gained mojo during the pandemic, and I'm betting this feels a bit familiar to many of you who are joining this call. I'm showing you here some research that we gathered from the client references of that email vendor wave evaluation that Nick just mentioned. So Forrester does wave evaluations, which are detailed 12-week processes that really benchmark vendors against each other. And as part of that research process, we ask each vendor in the study to share with us client references that can talk to us about how they're using the vendor, what kinds of programs they're running, and any insights about how they might be executing, in this case, email marketing programs with the vendors that we're evaluating. So I'm sharing with you here some data from the client references of that email wave study that we did. And I asked those client references, how important is email marketing to your company today compared to before the pandemic? And 2/3 of client references in that research said that email marketing is actually more important today than it was before the pandemic. I think that's probably consistent with what many of you have found, because there's maybe more reasons to be messaging your customers dynamically to keep them up to date on things that might be changing about your business. Now let me share with you some consumer data. So that was marketer data. How is the role of email changing in terms of its import in your marketing mix? This is consumer data. Forrester has a large consumer panel. It's actually the second largest in the country, second only to the census data in terms of the volume of data we're collecting from consumers. And we ask consumers to tell us a little bit about how they like getting email communications. And so what I've included here are pre-pandemic numbers, so 2019 compared to 2021. And you can see that for almost every type of promotional email, of email marketing, the engagement, the number of folks who are saying that they are interested in these communications is going up. So more people interested in interactive email, more people interested in promotional email, more people interested in informational email. A slight dip in transactional email, although that's still the most dominant form of email that people have an interest in, maybe because those transactions were confirmations and not necessarily updates or things that might be reporting dynamic information. So those same consumers also said that email was their preferred method of getting updates from brands when they were in the depths of the pandemic. How would you prefer brands or companies reach out to you to provide updates? Almost 2/3 of consumers are saying email is their number one preferred medium. So that's a hefty share of consumers, but I will also point out that the next closest channel, so email was the number one, the next closest channel was a company's website, and only 36% of folks said that that was their preferred medium. So email far and away the way that people are looking to get information about their favorite brands, maybe changes to health protocols or inventory levels or situations, supply chain issues that might be affecting the way that you can get products, services, and things that your family needs. So here we are in a situation where email has perhaps never been so vital and valued for a marketer and for the audience that you're trying to connect with. And yet, most email campaigns still fail Forrester's user review. A little bit about what you're looking at here. I do a best and worst of email campaigns about every year. We have a heuristic review methodology. It's sort of a secret shopper type of review where we put on our consumer hats and we evaluate 100 different email campaigns, 10 in each of 10 industries. And we put it through a series of questions that are just like what you might ask if you were an end user trying to engage in an email program. Is it easy for me to register for this email? Is there value in the email message? Does that value align with what I thought I was getting at registration? Is the layout of the message easy for me to understand? Does the color contrast make it easy for me to take advantage of the value the message provides? And then do I trust the sender? Is it coming from a reputable sender? And is the footer one that I can control so that my preferences and my privacy are within my control? So in the course of all of those criteria, we evaluate from a -2 to a +2 score. So a -2 would be an egregious fail, and a +2 would be a delight, that the functionality exists and it is delightful to experience. A score of a +15, so that would be a +1 on all 15 evaluation criteria, is passing. You got a +1 on everything we looked for. So now I think this data makes sense to you. This is the range of every campaign that we evaluated, and you can see that only 4 emails that we evaluated even earned a passing score. And they scored between a 15 and an 18 out of a possible 30. So the challenge that we are here to discuss is that email could be doing so much more in an ecosystem and environment where your audiences are hungry to get communications that can help them make decisions in uncertain circumstances, and also just because they want to hear from brands that they trust. So I have this hypothesis. If you're sort of thinking, well, why is that? Why would email still be so consistently underperforming? I have this hypothesis that most of us, most marketers out there, continue to rely on email in the way that they always have, in an email 1.0 way, if you will. And my sort of test of this is to see if any of these attitudes feel familiar to you. Do you find yourselves saying internally, well, email marketing is just good for promotions? It's such a good medium for promotions, but have you ever stopped to think about maybe what else it could be used for? Maybe you think we just measure clicks and opens, and that's enough. You know, we're just looking at how much volume of action are we getting, rather than are we engaging people with our brand in a way that pivots them from some attitude toward us to something else. Maybe there's a way to measure how influential email is in making other marketing practices more effective for you. So are there things beyond clicks and opens? Maybe you think clickable links make our emails interactive enough. You know, it's fascinating to me that here we are in a world of immersive and in some cases virtual experiences through digital. And yet for most emails, the basic interactivity is clicking on the blue link, just clicking on the blue link to jump to a website. So are you thinking that that's enough, that that's what makes your emails interactive enough? And then maybe this one is familiar too, that simple segmentation is just enough to make your emails do what you think they need to. And I bet there is a way that that there can be more to make your emails relevant. And Rajesh is going to share some examples and some ideas of that. So I got a little trigger happy with my forward arrow. So you had a little sneak preview of what's coming next. What's coming next is just proof for my argument that if you let go of that legacy way of thinking and you start instead thinking about how you can leverage email to do more, you will become a more advanced marketer and you will create programs that are more relevant and resonate better with your audiences. So now I'm showing you more data from those client references that I mentioned that we surveyed as part of our WAVE research. We asked client references to self-select into an advanced category, and then we asked them why. Why do you consider yourself advanced? For many folks, they said it was because of customer feedback, that they liked their programs, that their emails were performing well, that they had a lot of multi-channel capabilities. They had integrated email within other digital and offline channels. Or were you less advanced? You were maybe somewhat new to email. You were still getting your data organized in a way that made it useful. Maybe you're just doing some very batch and blast type of communications. So what you're looking at here is the difference between practices adopted by advanced client references in our WAVE research and less advanced client references. And so I think there are a number of distinct differences that you can observe, but the things that I want to call attention to are the places where there is the most significant difference. And that to me comes around things that are more real time and optimized in nature. Things like dynamic content, like content testing, like real-time content, things that are decisions made based on testing the performance and then using those tests in AI models or even in an experimental design sort of approach where then you can deliberately send out the offer, the content, the image that is going to perform better for a particular audience. So advanced email marketers tend to use different practices, and those practices tend to be more real-time, dynamic, test-based in nature. So I am going to close off my portion of the conversation with just a few recommendations. And these are meant to be some thought starters for you because you're about to see some illustrations of these best practices in play from Rajesh. So the first thought here is to challenge yourselves to use email for more than just promotions. A few ideas. Maybe email can be a way to identify your customers across channels. Maybe email can be a really good test environment to test new ideas that then you use in future email campaigns, or perhaps on your website, or even in a physical store. Email can also be a branding and engagement medium. It's not just a direct sales tool or a way to distribute a coupon or a free shipping offer, but email can actually be a way to create community and to create connection between a brand and an audience. My second recommendation is thinking about creating an immersive email experience. This is letting go of that idea that just the clickable blue link is interactivity. What about using email in an augmented reality way? Could there be a way that you are bringing your customer into the email in some sort of camera-based way? Or interactive content, you're comfortable using mobile apps to pinch and zoom and remember the context of a user, and emails can do a lot of that today as well. And then an idea here about raising the profile of your email marketing internal team and also just how the medium is performing. I think email is an inexpensive medium, and that's sort of the beauty of its cost effectiveness. But then at the same time, it tends to get marginalized in a lot of organizations because it's just not an expensive investment. So could you nurture your email teams? Could you use email as an assist to other more expensive campaigns and media buys that you have going on? And could you think about perhaps augmenting the profile of email within your organization through the support of technology and agency services that are outsourced options that you can bring in some expertise. And you'll hear Rajesh speak about the model that they've piloted associated with that idea as well. So I'm going to leave you here with a challenge as you think about the comments that Rajesh is going to share. These are the vendors that I evaluated in that email wave research that we've mentioned now. And so I've circled Netcore for you so you can see how it compares to many US-based and global vendors. And I will just say that the things that stood out from Netcore were really around the usability of the application. Very marketer friendly and a lot of advanced capabilities that were simple, intuitive to apply. Also has a number of solid advanced measurement capabilities, which is something else I would encourage you to think about. Measuring beyond opens and clicks, certainly as Apple iOS is changing the way that open rates provide insight into your campaign performance. And then you'll hear Rajesh speak about this as well. Netcore has a nice predictive capability that helps set up segments and also helps set up a cadence of communication so that you're not having to test and rejigger things. The system itself can predict an outcome from a desired audience and help you make judgment about how to connect with that audience in the most performative way. So my challenge for you here is, as you listen to Rajesh, think about what you could be doing in your own programs, and also think about how you could push Netcore to enable some of these advanced practices with you. So thank you so much for joining us. At this point, I'm going to ask Rajesh to take over the conversation, and we'll hear a little bit about how to put some of these practices in play.
Thank you very much, Shar. Shar, I just need permission to share the screen, so you need to.
I will stop sharing, and I think that should let
Perfect.
you take it over.
Yes, thank you very much. And here we are.
Yes.
So, as Shar said, there's a lot of room for innovation in what we can do in email. And we're going to discuss where this demand is coming from and how to solve the challenges that are there. Email 1.0 has done fantastic over the last 20 plus years, but as you'll see, there's a lot of opportunity for doing much better. So what do brands want? One of the most important things is, how do we solve the problem of attention recession, where the open rates are quite low in email. Customers are not paying adequate attention. The next point is really that how can brands collect zero-party and first-party data through emails? How can brands build a hotline to customers? How can they drive more engagement through email? And just as the world of ad tech has seen massive growth because of pay for performance, can some of those ideas be replicated in the world of email? And what do customers want? More relevant content, two-way interaction, an easier way to set preferences so they can get personalized content, valuable information, and not just the promotional stuff, as Shar indicated. And of course, they want their mails to be mobile friendly. And this is how we can drive the habit revolution via email 2.0. So email has been sort of, there's been sending of emails, marketers send emails. In email 2.0, can we make sure they are seen? So send to seen, delete to delight. The delete mindset that is there in end customers, can that be changed to delight? Marketers have a hope that their emails will be seen. Can that be changed to a hotline? Instead of just sending out emails occasionally or at any time, to make emails a habit, we have to send out emails daily at the same time, like many media companies do. Instead of thinking about opens and clicks, can we look at stickiness and streaks? Instead of mails which are not interactive, make them interactive, not incentivized, make them gamified. And that's the world of email 2.0, very different from what we have seen over the past 2 decades. Email 2.0 is about combining a set of ideas together. There are 3 innovations: AMP for interactive emails, M's, short for emails, for informative emails, atomic rewards for gamified, incentivized emails, Progency, a way to do better execution, and hooked score as a new way to measure the effectiveness of emails. So let's start with hooked score, the measurement. And that's something then we can work to improve through the other innovations that we will discuss. Hooked score is about measuring habit creation. So look at stickiness and streaks and engagement intensity rather than just opens and clicks and CTRs. Because what we really want to track is attention, and what we want to get is data, first zero-party data from customers. And we want to do this over successive emails, not just the one-offs which are there. So consider various in-mail actions which are there, form fills, data volunteered. Can those also be tracked rather than just looking at opens and clicks? Look at a 30-day exponential moving average of email actions. So the idea here is that if you think of opens being one, in-mail actions can be two. If someone volunteers data, you can look at a 5-point hook score for them, and so on. So you can, a marketer can basically decide what is the things that you want from email, and just look at going beyond measuring opens and clicks. What hook score does is it places a greater weight and significance on the most recent data points. It measures not just aggregates, but you can also measure at the individual level. And the advantage of that is that you can design strategies, engagement strategies based on the hook score. So which quartile customers are falling in, and then create campaigns basically based on that. So you can optimize campaigns to drive habit creation. So hook score is a new metric that we are recommending the email industry starts adopting. And what are various ideas to improve the hook score? And of course, engagement. The first idea is interactive emails. AMP has been around for some time. It's a technology introduced by Google about 3 years ago. What AMP allows you to do is to have in-mail forms. You can get ratings, NPS, and reviews inside the mail itself. Think of these as apps and microsites, and I'll give you a very good example of this later on. You can schedule appointments right inside the mail, dynamic, live content, zero-party data, games, all of this without anyone having to click through to a website. So here's a simple graphic on what can be done. So you have the content, and then you can have ratings. So rate this email can be done right there without having to click through. You can have dynamic content. You can have one-click actions. And I'll show you some of this as we go forward. The next idea is M's. It's about micro content and stories, making email a daily habit. So how do we fill in the gaps between the campaigns? Typically in a 30-day period, many brands are sending out maybe 6, 7, 10 emails. What about those other 20 days? What can be done to make email a daily habit? So think of short emails, single mobile screen, basically readable in 15 to 30 seconds. These mails are informative. Okay? Every brand can send out interesting content which informs rather than just having a call to action to buy. They offer something useful to customers. A fresh format, which really gives the anticipation of something new and exciting, and in a story format, so in a series, daily at the same time, so it becomes a habit. Like you see mails from New York Times or Wall Street Journal, they come into our inbox at the same time every day. Why should brands not be doing the same thing? So take an example. Someone comes onto your website, say you're a bookstore, browses a book and goes away. Typically, we'll send a mail after 2 days saying that you browse this item in case you're interested, here's the link to buy. Instead of that, imagine if you could send on the next day an excerpt from the book. A following day, table of contents. Third day, reviews about the book. Fourth day, if the customer has still not purchased the book, fourth day could be other books by the author. Fifth day could be other books in the same genre. So you have 5 days, each one with interesting content and hopefully getting your customer to engage. And the last, the fourth idea, the third innovation is atomic rewards. So many of us have read the book Atomic Habits. So I borrowed the title from being inspired by that. So it's about gamification. How do we create micro incentives to enable marketers to nudge behavior? So the idea is that incentives work. All incentives today by marketers have largely been at the transaction level. So you get loyalty points, etc., for doing transactions. But what we really want to do is to push the incentives, push behavior changes upstream: attention, engagement, habit creation, loyalty. That's what we want to be able to do. We want to incentivize people perhaps on the time that they're spending, and the marketer has full control on it. So there's very limited potential for violation or fraud in using these rewards. So think of it as a loyalty program for attention, engagement, and time. And of course, you can combine this with the mails that you are sending, the AMP mails or the Ms, and I'll show you some examples soon. You can now drive a higher order of engagement beyond just the opens and clicks. So if you ask people questions about their interests, their preferences, you can give them micro incentives. They're playing a game, again, micro incentives, get the engagement going. And the rewards can be in the form of an immediate discount. You can link it up to your brand's loyalty program or integrate with independent pan brand programs. So very interesting ideas which can really help drive engagement, again, especially for millennials. And gamification really works for every one of us. And it's high time we bring it into the world of emails, but with a lot of interesting innovations. The last idea is what I call progency. So product-led agency. So the pro and the gency from product-led agency coming together. So it combines product, professionals, process, and pay for performance. And this is what Netcore is pioneering. Think of progency as a parallel program to extend the internal team. So it's driven by KPIs. It builds on the product, which is the full-fledged campaign management MarTech product for email 2.0 execution. So it's not just people, it's much more. It combines left brain and right brain skills. So you have a team which can do campaign development strategy, creative content design, but also software and analytics, and built on top of a MarTech platform. There are a number of use cases. So remember, this complements the internal team that the marketer already has. You can look at very specific objectives like increasing the hook score, doing reactivation. Every brand has at least probably 25-30% email IDs which are dormant. And can we drive reactivation? So instead of sending them back into marketing campaigns on Google and Facebook for reacquisition, which can be many times more expensive, and then collecting zero-party data. Again, that could be something done independently, and I'll show you an example soon. So the idea is that the progency essentially can share the objectives, share the KPIs of the marketing team, work in tandem with them, and drive much better performance. And with open rates being at 10-20%, there's massive room for improvement. Email remains the best ROI channel. The idea is, how can we use these ideas of email 2.0 to make it even better? So time for a demo to see some of these ideas in action. Many of us are familiar with the Wordle game. Today, you have to go to the New York Times site, or variations, of course, of Wordle are all over the internet. You got to go and play them there. What we have done here is made a simple subscription service where a similar game basically comes to you. We call it WordX. Now, let's look at all the innovations that we've spoken about. First of all, think of this as an Ms. This email is in a single mobile screen. It can be a subscription service which comes to you. This is just an example of a game, but the idea is that you can look at informative content coming in the same way every day. Now, the one change you see is in the subject. You see Mu, which is our tokens, basically. So mu is sort of the point system that we have. 2022 are the number of points that I have. So this one change in the subject essentially tells me as the recipient that this mail has exciting rewards in it. The 2022 authenticates it in the sense that only you as a customer or as a email recipient know your point. So no one else can just put any number there. Now, there's a reward for opening. So when I open it, the 2022, if you look down, has become 2023. And now let's play the game. Of course, the answer for this one, I've put in the subject. So everyone knows what we are going to guess, and we'll do it in 3 chances. So typically I start Wordle with a collection of with 2 words, which basically get all the vowels out. So there's satin and rogue. And now let's guess the right answer. Magic. Remember, this is all happening inside your mail. Every action is being done right inside the mail. So you have this change right here, the congrats. You earned 4 mu for getting it right in 3 attempts. So there's my reward. If I'd got it right in the first chance, I would have got 6. So 654. Now, remember, we were at 2022. We had got 1 mu for opening it. And now, with the 4, we are at 2027. And this is your mini statement right inside the mail. So, and it tells you for what? For the open and then for doing the solution. Now, think of this as the zero-party data, a way to collect zero-party data. So it asks me which word game do you like more? Maybe I like Scrabble more. Okay, now I do next. Ask me a second question. So it's almost like an interactive chat, which is happening right inside mail. So I'm in India right now. So I say India, submitted right there. Now, again, everything is incentivized, right? So there's some rewards which are out there. Now, if I come here, I've got 10. So plus 5 for the 2 answers, 2 data questions which I answered. So I'm at 2037. All of this with real-time updates right inside the mail. And remember, we haven't yet left the email at all. And there are 2 more interesting things to show you. Now I can rate this email. No need for clicking through. You can have your NPS rating right here inside the mail. There you go. And of course, you don't want people to do it, but just in case you want to be very friendly to customers, you want to give them the option to unsubscribe, you can click right there. Are you sure? I say yes. And it says you have been unsubscribed, and the unsubscribe text has changed to subscribe. So all these fun things which we did right inside the mail. So think of these as mini apps, micro websites that you can create. It's only limited by our imagination on what we can actually do. So this combined all of the ideas that we had spoken about. This is AMP is being used here, so it's interactive. There's atomic rewards. So I earned a lot of points basically by doing various actions inside the mail. And of course, it's 1 screen full. So that's essentially an M. So going back now to our presentation. So that was the demo, and hopefully it's email like you've probably never seen before. Now we've had amazing early results for email 2.0 with Netcore working as a progency. So Big Basket, one of India's largest online grocery firms, 50 million shoppers. And these are very early results, so very early campaigns that we've done in the last couple of months. So a 3x increase in CTR using atomic rewards, the idea that we spoke about, gamified emails. Your Story, large media company, 1.5 million monthly visitors. So a 5x increase in registrations for an event that they were doing when they put in a mini form right inside the email without having people having to click through to a separate, to a website page. Myntra, which is Walmart owned, India's largest fashion brand. So a 140% increase in CTOR and a 50% uplift in NPS collection, again, using AMP. Kotak Bank, India's 5th largest bank, 30 million customers. So an 88% increase in active users using M's, a story format that's there. So in every one of these cases, what we are basically seeing is you make engagement a core part. So the one-way email, which has all been there, what customers have been seeing, make it interactive, make it fun. In many cases, like in the Kotak case, there were 3 or 4 sequenced mails sent out telling a story every day at the same time. All of these innovations can really transform your email program. So how do you get started? So here's a 90-day plan to a better email program, and you can measure improvements every month while using the hook score. Maybe in month 1, you take 10% of your active email list. Okay, so you don't want to disrupt what's happening. So you take 10% of your list and try out the email 2.0 dailies with AMP and atomic rewards to drive engagement. So you can think of 2 types of emails going out to people. They're the regular campaign mails, maybe 7 or 10 that you would send out typically in a month. And the other 20 days, how do you use M's to essentially engage with your customers? And send all the mails basically at the same time, make it informative, so they start to expect it. That's where emails start becoming a daily habit. In the second month, you could expand, of course, to about 40% of actives, and then look at the inactives and look at a model like Progency, what I described about an agency which works independently, but as an extension of your team to do reactivation. The better the reactivation program is, the less you will have to spend on expensive reacquisition later on. Third month, if the numbers are good, and I'm very confident that you will see very good measures, very good increase in the hook score, you can expand it to all actives. And the ideas that we've spoken here can actually be extended to all push channels, SMS, push notifications, WhatsApp, or any of the other push channels that you use. Now, push channels, and of course, email being the most important, are very important because you want to use push mechanisms to basically get people back to your properties, website or app. So this is a way to get started. Of course, there can be many variations on this, but a simple way, measure progress at every stage. So that's the power of email 2.0. How do we make email cool again? Solving the problems of attention recession and data poverty, creating habits. And for brands and marketers and for CXOs, email can be the key for profit-centric marketing. In a world where CAC is rising rapidly, I think email can really be the transforming agent to convert the chief marketing officer into the chief profitability officer. So whether it's attention, solving the attention problem, collecting more data, building the hotline, driving more loyalty, I think email 2.0 is really your answer to transforming the brand customer relationship. So that's about me and Netcore. I do a lot of writing. I write every day on my blog, a couple of posts a day. I cover themes related to marketing, entrepreneurship, and India. And if you go to rajeshjain.com/marketing, these are the essays that I have written over the last couple of years. So a lot of ideas that we've spoken here have been explained. Tomorrow onwards, I'll be starting a series on email 2.0, building on what we've discussed today. And that's about Netcore, global company. And hopefully you will have scanned the QR code to schedule a free email 2.0 workshop. So we're at the end, and Shar and I are here to take your questions. Nick,
Rajesh,
you have a few questions.
Great stuff. We do have a bunch of questions, and I'm going to try to be efficient with them. I'm glad we left a little time for them. First one here, Shar, for you, and there's kind of 2 here mixed together around the same one. The first is your research, that email review research of those 100 campaigns you highlighted at the beginning. Are there any industries or types of messages that perform better or worse, and any maybe aspects? What do they do particularly well? And then another one tied to that, is frequency a criteria in there?
Okay, so let's maybe answer the second half of that question first. We don't look at anything associated with the marketer decision about when to send or what communication to send. So it's totally a user review. It's just about what the user experiences in the message. Are they getting value from the message? Does it align with a typical set of expectations that a user of that email communication would get? And is it usable? Can they open up the message and understand the content from a design and digestibility perspective? We have another review, which I didn't share today, that looks at more marketer processes. So in that case, we look at things like data quality, data hygiene, frequency of data hygiene. In that case, we look at frequency and also at, is there a strategy associated with frequency? How are you determining how often someone is hearing from you and about what? But in the communications that I shared here, it's just the user review. So what industries tend to do better? It's industries that have a stronger history of direct marketing to a customer. So retail, in some instances, consumer goods, if they have a lot of data and they have a history of analyzing that data for customer communications. The industries that tend to perform the least well are regulated industries, telecom industries, healthcare, government and public sector firms. So companies that have regulatory issues that they're dealing with, or just haven't had a history of a lot of direct to customer marketing. And I will say, I'll give you two, sort of where are the most common pitfalls, and then where are the places that companies tend to do a really good job. Most common pitfalls are in two areas. The first is around registration. So this is that is the registration process clear and intuitive and everywhere a user might think to register. So many marketers bury registration. They don't put it on their homepage. They make it some series of loops that a user has to jump through. So this is all about shortening the distance from the time a user wants to engage with your email program and their ability to actually give you their registration information, and keeping that short and sweet and user-centric. And then the second common pitfall is around the footer. So is the footer something that is CAN spam compliant? So it includes all of the essential elements of the CAN spam regulation, which is about a clear and conspicuous physical address. It has easy ways for a user to opt out. It indicates how quickly that opt out will take place. But then there's another dimension that we look for in the footer, which is it easy for the user to change her preferences? If I change my email address, if I change my name, if I change my interests and my preferences, can I update that profile from the footer? So those are common pitfalls. The best performing areas where marketers tend to do the best today is around social media integration. Lots of good examples of companies that are integrating a forward capability, or share this in your LinkedIn or your Facebook or your Twitter profile. The next chapter of that would be better integration of user content into an email. So some of the interactivity that you just saw Rajesh share, could you include a poll or an ability to rate or review a product in an email? Or could you pull something from your social media properties that has a rating and review there, or user feedback there, and then you could say, oh, other users like you are reading and using this product, and here's their response. So those are some of the observations from that review research that I think are very tactical best practices, but kind of inspirational ways to just look for incremental improvements in your own campaigns.
Yep, love it. Great stuff, Shar. We have a bunch of questions here. Rajesh, one for you here around atomic rewards. You showed them an email. Can they be applied in other mediums? Maybe SMS, WhatsApp, push notifications, other places atomic rewards can appear?
Oh, absolutely, Nick. The idea of atomic rewards really is micro incentives to nudge behavior. And I think push channels are very important for a brand, because that's pretty much the only way most brands get their customers or their prospects back to the website or their app. And therefore, while I showed the example here for email, it can be done for SMS, push notifications, any place where a marketer would like to nudge behavior. And just to add one additional point to what Shar said in the previous question, in fact, a lot of the points that she said about the footer and about the email footer and some of the questions that you want, that a marketer may want to ask the customer, change of address, maybe preferences, etc. Instead of sending people back to a preference center, it could all be done inside the email itself. So think of it this way, that you have your AMP footer just below the content, like I showed in the mail. And that footer now can take up a life of its own. If you have some nice surprises in the footer, it will also encourage people to open the mails and scroll right down, even if they're wanting to skip the content to earn the rewards. They'll basically scroll down, and the objective is to get them to open. And as they open, they'll start interacting or looking at the content that you're sending out even more. So the idea should be that make rewards. So atomic rewards is about driving attention and capturing data. So the upstream from transactions, a lot of incentives on transactions, but look at the upstream, attention and engagement and data.
Love it. Great stuff, Rajesh. Maybe a quick follow-up question to that we have here. Can atomic rewards be combined with my own loyalty program? There's someone here who has their own loyalty program. Can atomic rewards, are they going to confuse their users, or can they be integrated? Absolutely.
It can definitely be combined. What brands may find sometimes is that the tech integration may be a little bit time consuming, in which case it may be better to sign up with a pan brand loyalty program. And we will be introducing that in Netcore very soon. And there's a lot of interesting things which can be done. I think you can use tokens. You can tokenize attention and data. So some of the Web3 ideas can actually apply within email also. So watch out for some of these new innovations coming out later this year from Netcore.
Nice. Love it. Speaking of new innovations, one here for you, Shar, from the audience. Augmented reality in emails, still conceptual, or has it been tried anywhere? That was a bullet point early on, I think.
So I'll give you an example of a program that I have seen, and Rajesh may have some that they've built, but the program I've seen is from Wayfair, where the email is actually sent and it's intentionally designed for a mobile device. So I receive the email, I open it on my mobile phone, and then using my camera, I can take the product that's pitched in the email and see what it looks like in my space. So it's perfect for something like that, where I might want to look at furniture and I just can't get a gauge for how the shape or the style would fit in my space. So the email is meant to be used in a way that you interact with your physical space, and then it brings it into the email so that you can see how the different products that they're pitching in the email would work. So that's the example that I've seen, and I think it makes a lot of sense for that retailer because of how they've applied, that sort of virtual reality type of capability.
I think it's a great idea, Shar. We haven't done it, but I think that should probably get added to the email 2.0 innovations.
Nice. We're on it for sure. Love it.
Now I've just added that to your product roadmap.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Several questions here about whether people can get copies of the slides and copies of the recording. And of course, yes, we'll be sending you copies of the slides as well as the recording. Interesting question for you here, Rajesh, around M's, as they are primarily informative and non-promotional. How do we measure the ROI of those type of campaigns? And I think that's actually a good one maybe for you too, Shar, as I know you're big on conversations, not just conversions, but your thoughts on that, Rajesh?
I think it's a very good point on how do you measure engagement in essentially what are informative emails. I think the way I'd look at it is that there can be a small, of course, opens would be one way to track, which is becoming harder. But there are some creative ways by which, despite what Google and Apple are doing, I think we can track actually email opens. But the second thing I think is that there are two simple ideas which can be done. Encourage people to basically click to the website to get further information. Third, the second idea, is that have some interactivity component in the footer of the email. So essentially what happens then is that I'm opening the email to read the informative content, but there is something else which catches my eye, and that could be very trackable. The key in this is really that what you want to do is to make EMS a habit. So what you should be able to, or a brand should be able to do is the regular campaigns which are going out should see an increase in engagement. What basically we are training people to do is that, look, every day at the same time, you're going to get something exciting from the brand. And what you want to be able to do is to use a combination of atomic rewards, exciting interactive ideas, gamification, etc., to make sure that instead of ignoring 80 to 90% of the time, they start opening 80 to 90% of the time. I think that's the shift which we want to drive from delete mindset to the delight mindset. And that's where not just EMS by itself, but EMS combined with AMP, combined with atomic rewards can, I think, be a very powerful proposition to drive engagement intensity, and which again results in a higher hook score as they go forward.
So I was just writing down a few different metrics to think about that I think work. That mine are a little more frameworky, where Rajesh is actually giving you actual ways to do the metrics. So I'll just share. I think that I like to think about email measurement in two primary categories. One is around effectiveness and one is around efficiency. And on the effectiveness side, I think marketers gravitate very much toward the clicks and opens. But I will just add, yes, look at what transactions they are driving, the actual immediate transaction that an email drives. But then there might be a couple of other things that would also give you a gauge of email as an effective driver of action. One would be around effectively driving some sort of brand score. So is a customer engaging or changing an attitude that they have about you because of an email that they saw? And then the third one is about overall increased value of a customer group simply because they are an email subscriber. So that's a little bit different than I got the email, I opened it, I clicked and I bought the product advertised. This is more that because I get your emails, I tend to be more valuable to you. I buy more in whatever channel. I advocate for you to my friends and am directly responsible for them increasing their engagement with you. So those would be around effectiveness. Then the other idea I have is about efficiency. And here I like to look at assists. You know, if you were keeping stats in a basketball game, someone who didn't make the shot but was the one who assisted in the shot. How is email assisting another campaign? Is email priming someone? You know, you see something in the inbox and then that makes you more apt to respond to a banner ad or a direct mail communication that then comes subsequently. So that's a sort of an assist score. Then the second is around work efficiency. Does email help an internal marketing team perform in a more efficient way? I've got automated capabilities so I can get my direct marketing communications out in a faster and more efficient way than maybe what I was doing in another medium, because email is so good and so automated and so addressable. And then the last one I have is, does email help a marketing team take less effort to reach the objectives that they have? So would it normally take me a year to get someone to convert, but with email, I actually get them to convert in 6 months? Or because I'm using email in concert with a stream of other communications, is it shortening the process for a customer to become a platinum tier as opposed to a gold tier? So some efficiency metrics might be useful to track there as well. So those are my thoughts, my framework, and maybe a way to organize how some of the specific practices that Rajesh was just speaking about could be applied.
And just to add one more quick thing, Shar, from what you said, we can actually have the rating, which I had shown in the demo. You can rate every email. Was this useful or not useful for you? Using AMP. And the first time marketers can actually get feedback on the content of what they are sending out.
I love that too. Direct feedback.
Direct feedback, absolutely. Nick?
No, it's really good stuff. We have several more questions here. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. And again, we'll follow up on email. A couple quickies here. Do we have any data, Rajesh, that interactive email affects inboxing at all? Or we're getting in the inbox with these?
I think where it does make a difference is greater engagement will drive more inboxing.
Right. Yep.
And interactive mails will be more engaging.
Yep.
So engagement intensity actually increases.
For sure. Another quickie. In terms of in markets where maybe there's less support for AMP, again, iOS, Yahoo absolutely supporting AMP, making a big push around it now. Gmail for sure, driving it. Less so Apple. Any advice for those who are addressing that Apple crew?
Quick answer would be that you can use the other ideas which are absolutely there, EMS and atomic rewards. And the other idea, of course, is if you like what you see, then get a Gmail ID and use Gmail's app or Chrome.
There we go. Exactly. Yeah. Customer driven. Rajesh, thank you very much for making the time today. Thank you, Shar, for making the time. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. If you have any more questions about email 2.0, the various components of email 2.0, or just want to see it in action, you can certainly reach out to us at netcorecloud.com. And you can also download the Forrester Wave for email marketing service providers, Q1 2022, a great piece of research. Kudos, Shar. Wishing everyone the best. Shar, thank you. Rajesh, thank you. And thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.